And that was conveniently just after I'd mentioned in the quiz that Danny Ings was finished. Yeah, he
scored twice.
Oh, he's good.
He's not bad, is he?
It just shows how knee jerk reactions online and social media. It's just, I think. Do you think that players back then wouldn't? I don't know. Like, I think that right now players are so reactionary from social media. Do you think back then players got away with it a lot more?
Yeah, definitely.
They had to have.
They've got
like
to.
if you look back at the, I don't know. I think that the Arsenal invincible team wouldn't have been invincible if there was social media around because of how many times they drew in that season. There would be so many knee-jerk reactions saying, "Oh, they finished, they're done. Look, it's the overturn," and then ultimately that would have a subconscious effect on their season. And then I don't think they will ever see another invincible season.
No, I don't. I completely agree. To be honest, I watched and if you haven't watched it, it's brilliant. If you find yourself with an hour spare on a weekend or something, the Rodri Giggs podcast. Can't remember the name of the fella. I will remember, but Rodri Giggs, and he's talking about the good old days when he's with his brother and all the players and things like that. He's talking about all the people that come up to the players because they was all partying at that point, and obviously Wenger stamped it out, didn't he? But around then, they're all out partying all the time, and they're all getting people coming up to him saying this, saying that about whatever. So they're still getting it in some sense, but it's nowhere near what it is now. Like if you're a professional footballer now, you go onto your Instagram, post a picture of your newborn baby or Christmas trees or anything. You're getting nailed regardless. Like whatever
I think what it does do is it bridges the gap. It makes, which I quite like. I've always liked it because I do think that it bridges the gap between what you'd consider like a celebrity and the average man. I remember years ago, and I can remember, I think it was a celebrity. I think who's it? It was like Stephen Fry. It was Stephen Fry, who obviously like major intelligent, like he was an institution in British TV. And I remember when I first got Twitter, one of the first people I followed was Stephen Fry, and he posted a picture of himself in a lift with a sandwich, and he was like, "Oh, ham and cheese today." And I remember thinking, this is fucking stupid. Like this guy is he's supposed to be. But do you know what I mean? Like he's supposed to be revered as one of the most, and he still is, I'm sure. Like one of the most intelligent people in this country. But I remember thinking it bridges the gap between what you'd call the average man and these, superstars. And it still does that in football. But I mean, and that's weird because I was saying today I was in work and chatting to a few people in the pub, and it was like I said this similar sort of thing about obviously my beloved Tottenham, is that Man United have just won a cup, and I think it was 5. How many years was it since their last cup?
6 beautiful years.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I support the team that gets the biggest ribbing from this. But in the last 6 years, I don't think Man United have had, I'm trying to be fair to the whole like Man United compared to Spurs in that way, but like Spurs have been ridiculed for fucking ages about not winning a cup. And it's like, and I put a post on my Facebook page, but when Harry Kane got the most goals for Spurs, and I was like, Harry Kane seems to be ripped. Now, I think if anyone's honest, they would say, yeah, he is an amazing striker. It was like, but Harry Kane and Tottenham are two different things. The same way that I would argue that when we had like the run that got us to the Champions League final against Liverpool, I believe that we had probably one of the best squads. I think we had the best centre-back partnership in Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld for a long time. It's like, if Tottenham don't win, it should not take away from the individual players. Like Harry Kane is an incredible player, regardless of Spurs. And I think that the reason why I'm saying this is that like social media is part of that. Man United have gone 6 years now. By their own standards, that's criminal.
It's terrible, yeah.
And the amount spent as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I think, and I was shocked the other day when I saw, even though I kind of knew it, but to see the numbers put in front of me, how much they'd spent in comparison to, especially United. I know Chelsea have gone up their own arse recently, but like how much Man United has spent compared to Man City, Liverpool, and all the other teams. It's like, well, they weren't getting. I mean, maybe they'll get smashed a little bit, but Spurs get ridiculed, and I think, fucking, we've been a pretty good team compared to the fact we get bottle job and all that. And I get it. You roll with the punches. We are a bottle job team in many ways, but there's Spurs. You know, Spurs have got no God-given right to win a trophy. They're not at the level that some teams are, and I don't know why we get labelled that. It just seems to be. Do you know what I mean? I think part of that, back to the point, is down to social media.
I
Do you
think
Spursy? Sorry, do you think Spursy? Because it's such a funny word to say.
I've always found
It adds
humour
to
in Spursy, but the whole thing about that is just a little bit of banter, that terminology.
But I think it bleeds to the players. It bleeds to the players.
Maybe so, but I have always had a soft spot since I met you. We've known each other ages now. Since I met you, I've always had a little soft spot for Spurs, wanted them to do well. And I've always thought this about Spurs is that we had it when I was a kid growing up. We won a couple of trophies, obviously 2005 Champions League, things like that. But there was a lot of things about the league title and things like this. And I saw so many similarities to Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool before they'd won anything to that Pochettino side. It's unbelievable. And I was worried on the day of that final because I was like, it's sort of make a break for Jurgen, this, because we've got to finals, we've got there and we've failed. And this one here, if Mauricio Pochettino takes Spurs and wins this, maybe they're the team that we want to be, and they're the ones that are going to step on. And that was a massive final for me, that I really thought so, because that Spurs team, as you said, it was absolutely brilliant. You were so unlucky. I do think it was a penalty, but listen, it was so unlucky. The fact that his arm's up there and Mane scoops it right to it after 50 seconds, that could kill anybody, any team, deflate them. So we won't go on about the final too much. But the thing is with Spurs, for me, I feel like exactly what you're saying and questioning. I don't see why there's this massive pressure on Spurs, because you have these monopoly gods of the Man Cities, now Newcastle, Manchester United. We've spent a bit of money, but we've also recouped a lot. So we look a little bit better in that conversation, but we're still up there in spending. And there's so many teams that are spending this type of money, and it's not rocket science. If you're spending that kind of money, results usually follow. And so I've always thought that Spurs were a bit hard done by in that sense with the trophy stuff, because you're in a situation where we had to have a revolutionary manager that was 1 in a million that came in to take us to that level. And it only happened once, by the way. We only won the Prem once. We're not going to win it this year. We won it 2019-20. We was unbelievable, of course, but that it took us to have that massive, massive shift, get the players in and compete with this monopoly. We did brilliantly, obviously won the trophies, and now we're finding it hard to keep up now.